From the Soapbox is the official podcast for the American Animal Hospital Association's digital newsroom, Trends. Here, we take inspiration from the familiar soap notes, but instead of looking at the condition of a patient, we're diagnosing and discussing the state of the veterinary industry. We'll chat about the challenges, trends, and innovations shaping the veterinary world with voices from across the community. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Singler. Thanks for listening. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of From the Soapbox. My guest today is Walter Brown, a licensed veterinary technologist with a specialty in emergency and critical care. He's known by many by his alter ego, Skinny Go Live, who makes comedic videos on social media about his experiences as a veterinary professional. We got to talk about his journey to vet med and how his grit and tenacity helped him navigate his veterinary technology program and become a technician specialist. And he shared the amazing story about how a quick, funny video he made about not touching wild animals went viral and got him the attention of Ellen DeGeneres and Stephen Colbert, launching his social media presence as a comedian and animal expert. While he still does some comedy, his focus is now more on helping veterinary professionals bond together over their profession that they love and their love of animals. And he also touched on what it means to him to help nurture the next generation of veterinary professionals through organizations such as Blend Vet. So if you want to feel uplifted and inspired, you'll enjoy this episode. Without further ado, getting his time to talk from the soapbox, Walter Brown. All right, Walter Brown, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'm so excited to get to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Emily. This is awesome. I'm always open and excited to definitely put myself out there in the world and introduce myself to folks. And again, for the folks who do know me and kind of just, let them know more about me.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And I have, it's kind of like a funny story. Maybe a little awkward, embarrassing for me, not for you, but like I met you once a few years ago. I'm sure you don't remember, but
Oh, wow.
it was very, very briefly. I saw you. I had been following you on social media for a couple of years, and I
Right.
saw you walking around at BMX, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go say hi." But I was so awkward about it when I think I just walked up to you. I didn't tell you who I was at all. Not that it would mean
Oh,
anything to you, but I just walked up to you and I was like, "Hi, I follow you."
you
And you were so kind and gracious about it. You were like, "Oh, that's great. Let's take a selfie.
I,
So
I
nice to meet you."
I'll have to go through my photo. I mean, it's 1,000 of them, right? But it's that's the beauty of vet med, right? We are A type industry, right? So a lot of times, we have a hard time like, all right, how do I, break an ice, right? Without it being something with animals. So yeah, I've totally had situations. And again, if you think that's the worst of it, Emily, you're fine. I've had more awkward situations
Afterwards,
that
I
I
was
was
like,
like,
"No
so
introduction at all." I was just like, "Hi, I follow you."
that's awesome.
Thankfully, you were
I
very
I
gracious.
assumed you were in veterinary medicine, I
I was
guess, if
there
you
at
were at BMX,
BMX, but
but
anyway, it was
that's
nice
awesome.
to meet you briefly in person, and it's nice to actually
Well,
more
I
officially
appreciate it.
meet you now, so I know.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me and meeting me while we were at VMX.
Yes,
That's
yes.
awesome.
Well, I've followed you for a few years on social media, and I'm sure a lot of others out there who are listening now have as well. But I would love to have you just kind of tell your vet med story, kind of like how you decided to get into vet med, how you started, and what that journey
Wow.
has looked like.
Very good question. I actually get asked that a lot. And, one thing about life, I think in order to get the best out of life, things have to be organic, right? And you just have to trust yourself, trust what you love, and just believe in yourself. For me, getting into vet medicine, I mean, so many different avenues of it. My dad grew up on basically what we would call nowadays a hobby farm. Back then, it was like a farm to actually live on. And my grandmother, two things that she loved her animals, she loved her grandkids. And I had this special love. She would have so many animals. I mean, she lived on this farmland and there were a lot of hunting in the area. And what I would call busted hunting dogs that just were no good or they just ran away. These people would always drop them off at my grandmother's house because they were like, oh, Miss Mandy, she would take care of them. So being a kid, I would always it would be, I mean, 40 to 50 dogs around all every time I would go to my grandmother's house. So, and her special tradition was she would call and like, hey, are you coming to visit this weekend? And I would be responsible. She would wait. and feed the dogs in the morning, but she would wait till I got there and I would help her like tote all these big buckets of food around. And of course, back then, right, you didn't have dog food bowls. They were feeding out of tire irons and hub caps or so growing up around these animals with my grandmother was just that love that brought me like I just loved animals from that point. When she also loved pigeons, which was a weird obsession. She just had this love for pigeons, and, she would always tell me, "When you come down, because we lived about 45 minutes away, she was like, "When you come see me, make sure you go bring me a pigeon," because we would have go to these little flea markets where they were selling, like, chickens and goats and birds, and it was this guy who was selling pigeons, and I would take my allowance. I never forget, they were $2.50 at the time. Again, this is, like, 30 years ago, people. Uh but I would bring her a little fantail pigeon, and she would keep it in her coop, and then they would flock around the house. It was just a crazy deal. So my love for animals started there, and then as I got older, I was a normal teenager. Growing up, my mother saw stuff in me that I didn't really want to see as a teenager. Right? She was like, "You need to go be a veterinarian and go to vet school or whatnot." And when you're a kid and your parents are like pushing a lot of stuff on you, when we were growing up as millennials, you did everything to rebel against it, right? So I rebelled against being veterinary medicine so much because my mom wanted me to do it, and it wasn't my idea. But I also had a love for like music industry or whatnot. So, I was a band geek as well, and that was my thing, and being in the community that I am, I grew up in a predominantly Black community, high school or whatnot, so I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me in veterinary medicine, right? I had a family member who was a veterinarian, but it was just, we were not around each other as much, but it's just for me, I didn't see myself being in veterinary medicine because I didn't see people like myself in veterinary medicine. So I leaned over to the music industry. I was a band geek. I told myself one day I was gonna be a music producer. I ended up getting a scholarship to Morris Brown. For folks who are listening, Morris Brown was the college. They have their accreditation back now, but they were a college that lost their accreditation. But they were the rival band. If you remember the movie Drumline, they were the rival band in the purple. And I had a scholarship that was actually real college or whatnot. So had a scholarship there. End up losing their accreditation, and my mom was like, "Hey, what are you gonna do now?" She was like, "Animals," and I'm like, I ain't coming back home, so I guess I'll figure out how to do animals." So I end up going to Fort Valley State, which has a veterinary technology program, and, I end up getting in the veterinary technology program there, with an idea of getting prerequisites to go into vet school. And then I learned more about veterinary technology and the nursing aspect of it or whatnot, and I'm like, "You guys are the ones who are actually putting your hands on the animals all day and, like, hanging out with the animals. I wanna do the nursing side of things." So I ended up getting my degree in veterinary technology, but during that point, I had my ups and downs and challenges like everyone else, and my biggest claim to fame is it took me about 6 or 7 years to actually finish vet tech school, a 4-year program. I just again, I didn't see a person that looked like me being successful in that industry. I was a fraternity boy. I ended up failing out of the program first, the first couple years, and then I dropped out of the program and just kind of left school altogether. And then I had an eye-opening moment because I worked in a veterinary clinic as well during those time frames, so I was really skilled as a veterinary technician. So I didn't see the reason for actually going to school, right? It was basically to satisfy my mom, and I knew how to do all the things. Everybody, I mean, I was dropping IV catheters. I was just that go-to guy, and I was like, "You know what? I don't need this for school." And then I had an eye-opening moment. A young lady who started the program with me, who actually finished the program, was getting ready to do her externship at the University of Georgia, which we all do uh, our things at the University of Georgia, our externship. And she came in the week before leaving, and she was like, I would never forget. She put blood in the machine. Easy to put blood in the machine, but when that paper came out, she looked at the blood work and was like, "This dog has a regenerative anemia with a left shift." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And she gave it to the vet, and he was like, "Oh, great job. This is awesome. Good job." And I was like, "How do you know that?" And she said, "I went to school." The very following I mean, the literally the next week, I was calling back up to school, figure out how to get back enrolled because that hurt me. That hurt me that I got all these skill sets, but I don't know what to read off of these things that I've done, right? So I went back to vet tech school, graduated, did my externship at Georgia. Actually did work at Georgia for 10 years, in the ICU, got my veterinary technician specialty in emergency and critical care during that time frame, and just that's how I blossomed as far as the veterinary technician side of things. End up taking that information, kind of starting social media, doing a lot of education and comedy with social media because I wanted to be that person to let people know that you can fail vet tech school, but still actually excel and go all the way to the top. And I just had a love for, talking to people, storytelling, comedy. So I took all of that, balled it up in one, and created a platform, Skinny Go Live, which people follow me on Skinny Go Live, where I make, comedy, whether it be for the veterinary technician, the veterinarian, for the pet owners, but I just try to bring it all well around and have a good time while having fun and comedy. So, in a nutshell, I know that was a lot, people, but in a nutshell, there's a lot that goes on in my life. But from the grounds of the veterinary technician world to the social media world, that's kind of how it all played out with a lot of different stories in between.
Wow, thank you for that. I love the perseverance and the resilience in that
Absolutely.
story.
You gotta have it these
Yeah.
days. You gotta.
Yeah, that's very inspiring, and I was gonna ask you about the Skinny Go Live because that was how I found you, was on Facebook a long time ago. I feel like I just recently, like, started following you on Instagram and other platforms because I'm
Oh
old,
yeah.
but
Again,
Facebook,
there's a
yeah, all the comedic videos that you did or still
man.
doing, but
The start of that, and I'm probably pretty sure the one I'm sure you've probably seen them. I think the most viral one that started all was, the leave wildlife children alone video.
yes,
That was
yes.
probably the
Yeah.
yeah, that was a funny story how that all happened. It was Memorial Day, Labor Day, one of those days where people were just like, it's a good day to go out and hike." And I'm like, "Alright, cool." And it never fails, which I was pretty used to it, but I think I was just exhausted that day. It was a lot of, "Hey, my dog's eating barbecue." I mean, it was one of them deals where pancreatitis galore, right? Because people are doing stuff. And people were literally walking, having fun through the parks, and like, "Hey, I see this baby squirrel or this baby rabbit in a nest. Let me pick it up and bring it to the vet office." And I'm like, "Okay, what are you bringing it in?" "I found him." And I'm like, you found it. Like, was it sick, injured, or no? It was just sitting there. And I'm like, you do know they live in the forest, right? Like, that's where they live. So imagine someone walking in your house and just taking your child and then taking it to the doctor and like, look what I found. Like, that's basically what you did. And it was fed. I had just had it. So I went upstairs. They were like, hey, Walter, can you run some blood work? I'm like, yes. And while I was running the blood work, I just kind of set up my phone and went on this rant and didn't even think about it. And I remember posting it, and the following morning around about 6 AM, I was getting ready for work. I was kind of getting ready for it. I worked second shift at the time, and a student text message. He was like, "Hey, have you seen your Facebook?" And I'm like, "No, not really. I hadn't checked." He's like, "You might want to check your Facebook." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go over to my Facebook. It's about 10 o'clock at this point, 10 AM. And first thing I see is like these notifications like galore. I'm like, what the hell happened? And I'm looking at it, and it's like so many people. And as I'm looking at it, it's being clicked and viewed. And I'm like, what is happening? And I saw where like I was scrolling down, and at the point Ellen DeGeneres had shared it, the Dodo had shared it, Anna, like all these people, what's the comedian, Colbert, like all these people were sharing this post, and I'm like, what was this about? And I actually looked down at the counter, and it was like, you have 1.4 million views, and I'm like, it ain't been 24 hours. What happened? And that was the blow up, and I was like, all right, how do I want to work this? Do I want to capitalize off of this, or do I want to just say, let this go? But and people like, "Was this your first time going viral?" I was actually doing a lot of comedy beforehand, before Vet Med. I was doing like the Bulldog Nation for the University of Georgia, and I was doing like Black Greek letter comedy for fraternities and sororities.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
ask you about that, if, like, comedy was already, like, on your radar.
yeah. It one thing about my dad, I love my dad. My dad is probably one of the funniest people in the world, and he doesn't try to be. He's just a genuinely good guy. I've never seen him upset with a person. I've never seen him really upset, like, to the point where he's, like, upset. He's always like, "Hey, man, you let it go, you laugh it off, and you have a good time." And my dad always had this knack for talking to older people. Like, that was his deal. I'm like, I used to ask him all the time, "Why do you talk to old people? Like, why?" And he was just like, "Man, they got great stories for you, and they're funny, right?" So, I used to hang around a lot of older people or whatnot, and, they're just funny, their mannerisms and things. So I just even as a kid, that was my thing. I wanted to be, like, and to this day, like, my dad is my idol. Like, that's who I wanna be. I wanna be a good guy like him. and that's my thing is like laughing and have a good time. So, yeah, I started my first social media post that kind of was viral was in Black Greek letter comedy. I'm a fraternity guy, so a lot of fraternities and sororities have different stereotypes. So I did a lot of comedy playing off those stereotypes, and that was great. And then I actually did a video for the University of Georgia football team that went viral. Like the coaches shared it, went all over the world. So they actually called me and was like, "Hey, you want to do more videos for our football team?" And I'm like, "Sure." So, that aspect of it. So I contribute a lot of this, and people like, what do you contribute your success to for all these different platforms? And I genuinely go back to the fact of like, just be good, right? Just be a good person. Be a good
Yeah.
person, and that's my biggest thing. I try not to be the center of attention, but more of the center of good intention, if that makes sense. So that's my biggest thing there. But yeah, the
Yeah.
social media world is crazy and it's been fun for sure.
Yeah, I love that. These are a good intention.
Be the center of good intention, always.
And do you perform comedy, like, outside of your, social media videos? Like, do you do anything live?
Yeah, that's a very good question. A lot of people who are probably watching, like, they probably have seen the progression of where, I like to do things for needs, right? And I think my contributing factor for the need of comedy and what also contributed to the success of Skinny Go Live was during the pandemic, right? We were at a tough time during the pandemic. We needed a laugh. Everybody just needed a laugh. People needed to hear the things that they wanted to say that you just don't know how to say it or you wouldn't dare say it because you may get in trouble. So I took the blow for the industry. I said the things that every veterinary professional wanted to say that they just weren't able to say. And I did it in a manner that was unique and respectful. That was a learning situation. And to all the veterinary folks who are listening, like I love y'all and appreciate y'all because I could have only have done that if y'all had my back. It could have been nope, this guy is no good for the industry. He's talking about, I got more of thank you, Walter, for saying the things that I've always wanted to say. And I can be relieved now. I get off of work and I know you're going to say what I was already thinking. And, I think that's the biggest contribution to the things is like the success of veterinary medicine actually helping me out to become, that I guess household name or whatnot. So it's been a fun trip, right? But I definitely want to thank the industry for actually allowing me to get to that point. So the comedy aspect, I try to um do it with a purpose. Right now, I think now that the pandemic is over, most people are like, all right, we're back to work and they don't really need a lot of it. I actually feel like the veterinary industry, we were loving each other during the pandemic, but now we are like back at tugging at each other like brothers and sisters that we used to be and not cuddling each other. So I try to step away from so much of the comedy aspect and getting back to the teaching. So outside of veterinary medicine, I do a lot of different like open mics. So I'll go to open mics and do performances at open mics, breweries. Every now and again, I'll do some different events like at conferences or whatnot, but it's more of I try to be more of an MC or a host to tell a few little jokes here and there while actually bringing other people on to speak. So I like to do more of an MC deal for veterinary medicine versus a comedy show. Because comedy can get a little dark, and sometimes you got to say some of the things that might rub people the wrong way, and you got to be careful of your audience. So in veterinary medicine, I try to be careful about that.
Looking for the latest veterinary news? Stay ahead of the curve with stories from the American Animal Hospital Association's digital, award winning newsroom, Trends. We're bringing you fresh stories every day, covering everything from the cutting edge clinical insights to helpful practice management tips. And it's not just articles. Watch videos, check out interactive charts, and learn more about the people shaping our industry. As an AHA member, you also unlock exclusive members only content designed to help you and your team thrive. Visit aha.org/trends today and sign up for Trendsetter, our newsletter where all of our stories are delivered to your inbox twice a week.
True, true. But I mean, you're also serving a very important role now, kind of like bringing people together. Like you said, maybe things have changed from how we were kind of bonding together during COVID times, and um, you're sort of reassessing and seeing where the need is
Where we need to be,
right now.
right? And that's my thing. I challenge people to always do that. A lot of people, you gotta purpose change. Everybody has their calling and everybody has a purpose. But you have to, purpose change after a while. And that was my biggest thing I wasn't doing the videos for likes, clicks, and shares, right? My biggest things was once I heard people say, "Hey man, thank you for saying the things that, I've always wanted to say," and you give me that relief, I'm able to get in my car and feel better about, myself because I know someone feels me or is having the same
Yeah.
problem and able to make me laugh without and not feel like crap about it. That was the biggest reward to me, right? Like, not the likes, clicks, and shares. People like, "Hey, you made my day better. Thank you." Like, now I think since we don't have that time to look at videos in the clinic, I mean, I would get videos or pictures. I mean, I would get so many pictures from doctors who knew me of like taking pictures of their staff early in the morning. They would all have like their phone set up and everybody's around watching a Skinny Go live video.
Watching
That was
it.
just heartwarming, right? To me, it
Yeah.
meant a lot because people were like, I'm gonna start my day off with a Skinny Go live video to get some laughter in my system because what people don't understand is laughter actually creates endorphins, and endorphins are your natural opioids that help you fight pain, right? So people get that opioid, a natural opioid in their system early in the morning. People that work out, people that do laughter in the morning, they get that natural opioid in their body so they can survive through the day, right? So to see so many pictures of that was just heartwarming, right? And hopefully we get back to that point where people are able to get back to sitting around and watching a video. But I think we're at a place now after the pandemic where people are back at work. We got dogs back in the shelter. We got a lot of different pandemic dogs now that don't know how to act because their owners are back to work. Their owners are frustrated. So we are trying to piece together our industry after dealing with the pandemic, which I think we were blessed to have the pandemic on our end. Not blessed to have it, but we were essential employees where we thought we could lose our whole career behind the pandemic. So I think we are rebounding now. And but I hope we get to a point where we can kind of get together and be brothers and sisters and laugh again.
Yeah, I think we're so good at, like, as veterinary professionals, reminding pet owners of the importance of
Hmm.
endorphins for pain control for our patients, for
Yep.
their pets, and maybe don't
And we
think
need it
about
for
it so
ourselves.
much for ourselves.
I tell people that all the time. That's my biggest thing now is like having these talks about, people because people ask all the time, like, Walter, why don't you do some of the comedy you used to do? And I'm like, because
Yes.
it's not needed right now. What we
Right.
need is to get back to being brothers and sisters and learning that we can laugh and that everything is not outrage, right? And I think we live in that culture too. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. We live in an outrage and cancel culture. It's so sickening now. You know, people who watch my videos, y'all know I love animals, right? But I have a special comedy for doodles. Like doodles are
Mhm.
just my
Mhm.
breed to pick on, right? And it's not anything against doodles, right? Every dog had their moment, right? We did it to the huskies, right? Nobody wanted a husky coming in because they're gonna scream and yell all day. We did it to the Weimaraner, the silver lab. We did it to all these dogs. It's just their time now. And it's gotten so funny because I've gotten messages of, "I wouldn't dare go work at one of your clinics because you talk about doodles." And I'm like, this is where we are. Like, this is where we are now in life because I told you that your doodle was not a purebred dog and you're upset. Now you don't want to go to any of those clinics. Like, we got to get out of that culture, people. And I get it, and but, it just makes it hard for influencers. It makes it hard for people who want to laugh and get that natural endorphin, right? Because you never know. We live in an outrage and cancel culture society. And as veterinary professional, I would tell you all to, keep scrolling, be tougher about it because again, you don't want that thing to like if it will impact your mental health if you allow it to. So I would, steer clear of that if you can and just love on people and learn to laugh is the biggest thing that we got to get back to and just learn to laugh.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great reminder. And, you mentioned kind of like becoming a household name, and I see that you've done work as a veterinary technician liaison.
Yeah.
Um, and I would imagine you're still having veterinary technicians and other members of the profession come to you all the time and talk to you about what they're concerned about, like what they
Hmm.
wanna see happen, like what things they would like to
Oof.
see change. And I'm just wondering, like, what are some of the big things that you're hearing about from, like, veterinary technicians
Do we
these
wanna open
days?
that can of worm, Emily? No,
Well,
just kidding. I mean,
you
these
would be selective of our what you feel
well,
comfortable sharing.
I'm always comfortable and I'm always transparent, right? And I think I believe everyone is in this profession, most of everyone, um, has good intention on anything that they're creating in a space to move the industry forward. I don't think we have enough conversations together and putting ourselves in each other's shoes to have these conversations on different changes that may occur. And I think some people may be on their own agenda where it's like, hey, look what I did kind of agenda.
Mhm.
So I think we struggle there. I feel like in veterinary medicine, we do a lot of putting the cart before the horse type of deal, if that makes sense. Example of that, I love being a veterinary technician and specialize in emergency and critical care, but this was like, hey, let's create this role or this new position or credentialing without an actual job for them to do. Because people ask all the time, what do vet tech specialists do other than a normal veterinary technician who didn't learn all these other skills or whatnot? Do y'all get paid more? And it's a lot of things. And I will say, being a veterinary technician, it opens the doors for a lot of opportunities, but you still have to go out there and put yourself out there and learn more and market yourself as a VTS to get these opportunities. So there are a lot of different changes happening. Um, One of the biggest ones, and again, I won't sugarcoat things, and I think everybody has good intentions. The one that's making a lot of noise in the room right now, I think, is Proposition 129. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah,
That's happening out in Colorado.
the VPA.
And the VPA, I
Yeah.
think, the intentions are good, but I think this is another cart before the horse. The conversations were not had collectively. And when you make this kind of a big change, especially with the potential of bringing people into this profession with little education and putting them on that level, I don't think the conversation was had um, long enough within the veterinary space, veterinary technician space, veterinary technology space. This is a 4 and 5 year conversation before we push this out. And what we have to do as veterinary professionals is be okay with, as a family, with a no or a yes, right? If it's something you're against and it goes forward, how do we work together to make that work, right? If it's something where it's a no and the people who want it to yes, how do we work together to make it a yes that works for both sides? But I don't think we are there together as a profession because we're so busy in our clinics or doing a lot of different things that we don't want that headache of having those roundtable discussions that need to be had. So what happens a lot of times is we push that agenda out to the general public to decide for us, and it's not sometimes the best idea. So I get a lot of questions about that. Am I for it or against it? And for those who want to know, I'm not for or against it. I think again we need to have more of a conversation. Do I see some good in it in the future? Yes. Do I see good in it right now? Not so much because we have not had a lot of conversations. Things have not been ironed out. So that's my deal there. And I don't wanna and I also tell a lot of veterinary technicians, like, we have to understand we don't have a license that is to do things such as veterinarian. So we're under their license. And as much as hard as it is for us to bargain with our veterinarians to do things and we feel like they're against us, and we hear a lot of time that's our license on the line, it is their license on the line. But how do we work together to 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 make this trust? Because a lot of it is a trust factor, right? How do we let our veterinarians trust us more as veterinary technicians? So a lot of my lectures, people who've been to my lectures, y'all know the biggest thing that I say about my lecture, my coining phrase in every lecture for veterinary technicians is take this information that you're getting from my lecture and drop it around your doctor. Drop gems around your doctor so they can pick them up because your doctor will listen like, huh, or like, for instance, I had a technician call me the other day and like, Walter, thank you so much for teaching me about the vitamin K dependent factors 2, 7, 9, and 10. I dropped that around my doctor because we had a dog getting the rodenticide or a rat in rodenticide, but it was actually the neurokind. And she was just talking out loud. She learned how to talk out loud. She's like, oh, this dog has rodenticide. All right, factors 2, 7, 9, 10, rodenticide, vitamin K. And, her doctor was like, whoa, that's pretty awesome. I hadn't heard that since vet school. So her doctor was like, you've been learning something. And she told her, well, this is not the anticoagulant. This is the neurokine. So these are the things. But she was like, her doctor had never spoke to her or taught her something like that until she dropped the gem around her. So that's my biggest thing. Learn to have conversations, educate yourself as technicians so that your doctor trusts you more. And doctors who are listening, learn to listen to what your veterinary technicians are saying so that because they want to impress you. They want you to trust them so they can do things more. And I think once we start at that base level in the hospitals, getting the trust, we are better equipped to have conversations as veterinary technicians and veterinarians on where we need to move forward as far as advancing the industry. So For me, it's a lot of different things, but I think right now the biggest thing is we need veterinary professionals. Is opening more vet schools to answer? Maybe, maybe not. Is opening more veterinary technician schools to answers? Maybe, maybe not. Um, but I think we have to stop and at least have a conversation at a ground level, where it be at the technician association, local VMA associations, but we got to learn to play together in order for us to advance the industry. Like I said all the time, I think we put one foot forward and then we take three steps back
Yeah.
in a short amount of time. So, for
Yeah.
those who are listening, man, let's love on each other and have the conversation of moving the industry forward as far as advancing our profession.
Yeah, that's such a good mindset. I will say, just like from my own perspective as a veterinarian, that I know that I have not always done enough to really um recognize or even understand or like have awareness
Mhm.
around um all of the training and experience and knowledge that credentialed veterinary
Right.
technicians have. Living in a state where there's no title protection, I'm in
Right.
Florida,
Mhm.
so I
Mhm.
work with mostly
Right.
uncredentialed team members when I was in practice, and, I think it sometimes flew under the radar that there were individuals with those credentials, with that training, who really could have done a lot more than what I gave them the opportunity to do. Partly because that was the example that was presented to me, partly because I didn't know any better, but partly because I didn't make the effort to find out. So, I think that, I love that we're talking more about, like, technician utilization, because I think that's so important, and I think there is a lot of onus on the veterinarians, on the practice managers, on those team members to say, "Hey, we have these," like you said, "these gems here, like these individuals who are so knowledgeable and so capable and can do so much on their own and make decisions and be very autonomous in a lot of circumstances and help the practice run so much better."
And I
We
I
should be
agree.
utilizing them.
We totally could, and even to the extent of, again, back, not again, I want the general public people to know as well, like, we love that there are so, people love animals, they wanna come into the profession and to help, and we know that there are avenues. You go to vet school or vet tech school, and I, again, think there should be a certain different avenue and a certain person, maybe from the general public, who has some kinda healthcare knowledge that could help us out in a way, right? I've always said I would love to see a program, dental hygiene and veterinary technologies are often 2 programs in a brick and mortar community college that are together, often. Teeth are almost all the same, the structure, how they work. Of course, we have some different things here. A cross training, right? A cross training where dental hygienist and veterinary technician. The dental hygienists are maybe teaching some skill set here. We're teaching about the animal side of things here. Maybe there's a cross certification, right? Where it's some testing and skill set, right? Where I just think there are so many things that we could like develop and put together, but I think that it's so much other noise of no, that's my job, and this is my job, that we don't take the time. And again, Emily, I really appreciate that as a veterinarian of you saying, "Hey, I realize that I may have not recognized a person's skill sets." Saying that is big, just saying that, and for a technician that's hearing you say that, they're like, "Man, I wish." There's something I'm like, "I wish my doctor would say that to me." And again, I do a talk where I was the kid in the back of the classroom. And I do this talk where it's called like, "Don't forget about the kid in the back of the classroom." I was that kid in the back of the classroom with the hoodie on that I knew I was smart, but I just didn't care. I just didn't care because nobody wanted to have the conversation. Nobody wanted to put themselves in a position to say, "Hey, what could I do for you? Like, why you sit in the back of this classroom and not do X, Y, and Z?" And I had if we had more time to chat, it's so many different stories that led me to wow. And two examples of people who kept cheering for me when I didn't cheer for myself: Dr. Rita Samples and Dr. Mobini. Now Dr. Mobini is like a board member of the AVMA, right? He calls me all the time. He's like, "Walter, anytime you technician utilization, anytime something goes on at AVMA where they're talking about veterinary technicians, he calls to consult with me, right?"
Yeah.
He knew
As
I
he should.
failed. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that means a
Great.
lot. Dr. Orita Samples, she was one of my instructors, gave that lady a headache my entire veterinary medicine technician career. I was just that student when she was like, "Walter, Can you just do the work? And, and now it was funny. She is the author of the new one of the authors of the new technician book that we all used to hate carrying around. I'm like, "Well, ain't this about something right here?" I look at this book and I'm like, "This book has been in my life all my life, and now she is the author." My instructor is now, and she tells me all the time, "I'm so proud of how you have become the person you've become." So it's a blessing, right? And I think the premise of this all is for a veterinary technician. Hey, man, never give up. Find a place that you love. For a veterinarian, be that cheerleader. I always tell them, be a cheerleader for your veterinary technician because they want a cheerleader, and if you are a cheerleader as a for them, it's that wonderful feeling. So definitely. Push your veterinary technician to be the best they can be. And technician, drop gems around your doctors anytime you learn something, let them know you've learned something. I think that's the best way for us to kinda get back together as an industry.
I love that. I would definitely be impressed, and I would have to go look up all that vitamin K stuff, so, um, without a doubt, I would have to go look that up. I wanted to touch on something a little bit different. I know you've been really involved with Blend Vet and doing a lot of the pathway opportunities. You really kind of and I've seen them in person at VMX, and obviously I've seen the social media coverage of them elsewhere around the country and even around the world now. I just wondered if you could speak to what being a part of that has meant to you, what those experiences
My
have
gosh.
meant to you.
Uh, that is I wish programs were like this when I was a kid, and if they were, I wasn't exposed to them. It's a great opportunity. The premise of Blend Vet is like again, kids, from different walks of life, from different ethnicities, um, getting together to learn about veterinary medicine. And our biggest thing is like letting them know so many different avenues are in veterinary medicine. There are things that you could do from the nursing aspect to the veterinary proponent of it. And I enjoy the fact that the parents are extremely tentative. A lot of them are trying to figure out, like, okay, where my kid is animal, 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 right? And I need to figure out, a lot of parents will say, I don't think my kid is smart enough to be a veterinarian. And it's like, and then they're like, how do you become a veterinary technician? I'm like, that ain't easy either, So just because they still got to do work either way it goes. Um, and I let them know, like again, the atmosphere is a little bit different, where you may be doing more hands on, or the thought process you're doing a lot more hands on as far as the nursing care, the patient care on the technician side, and you're doing more of the diagnostics, the veterinarian side of things. We give them that whole painting up of how that goes, and they really do appreciate it. As far as the parents, the kids love the activity. Some of the kids realize, it's a couple different ways to look at it. Some kids leave there like, nope, veterinary medicine ain't for me. And some kids are like, I really love this. But I love the fact that we could get into the community, that these kids come out, they enjoy it. They're really respectful, they're mannerable. I love that we have a lot of minorities that come join us. I mean, some heavy hitters. We have Courtney Campbell, top tier surgeon. He has amazing station that he sets up with these kids. These kids are able to drill screws into bones. They gown up. They learn how to put them. They actually get into a real setup of surgery, and they really do appreciate that. The exotics. That's the biggest things now. Kids love exotics. They are exotic animal lovers. So a lot of them want to know more about a lot of the exotics, but these events are extremely um, important. I think we need to do more of them. And again, for the folks that a lot of people think this is just a minority event or whatnot, this is for everyone, right? And we should never leave any kid not feeling like they are part of something. A lot of times at these events, we will have a large population of minorities, but sometimes there may be a white kid that's actually the minority in the group, and they feel a little like, how I don't know how to navigate around people. I've never been around. So this is just not an opportunity about animals. This is an opportunity about being around people that may not look like you, and you want to learn how to communicate and learn how to be a friend or say different things. So these kids actually, they travel around in groups, and a lot of them leave there as friends. And I did one in Long Beach, and and it kind of touched me. And again, it was a little white kid. It was a white kid this kid named Henry. His grandmother, you can tell she loves this kid to death. He loves everything exotic. His parents are always working, so grandma tries to find him activities to do. So she drove him all the way hour and a half. And it's just the fact this little old lady, you can see her just getting around and she has her this kid. And Henry was so tentative and he was around everyone that didn't look like him. And he was Mr. Walter and and he had his love for exotics. And I talked to him about Repticon and how to, get the Repticon. He loves geckos and he was gonna like, wait, I can actually breed geckos and go to Repticon. I'm like, yeah, this stuff is about learning. You can sell and his grandmother was so I mean, it just brings chills to me. She was so thankful that, someone and she was like, someone that looks like him wouldn't even have taken that time. So somebody that doesn't look like him taking that time. And Henry messages me all the time. He'll shoot me an email. Hey, Mr. Walter, I did a project today on geckos in school, or I'm going to Repticon to do this. And that just touches me, right? That grandmother, when, she's trying to do something for her daughter who works all the time to keep Henry fed and pay the bills. And she is like, I'll take Henry way out here to this event where kids that don't look like him are learning about animals. That's hard. I don't know if people understand. That's hard to go somewhere and put yourself in a place where you don't look like everybody else and learn and make new friends. So again, it's not about blending and learning more about animals. It's about blending the culture. And I think we have to start young. I love doing it young because kids are the sweetest and the most innocent and they are still developing. We as adults suck sometimes. So kind of getting together, you getting these kids together, different minorities and different walks of life, getting them together, making friends for lifetime. I think that's the biggest part of it for me. Just seeing these different parents of different ethnicities and walks get together and bond with animals. And this should tell people a lot. Animals, and that's the other part of my platform I tell people about. I have about 100,000 followers on Facebook, which is hard to do. That's one of the hardest platforms to get following on. And people ask me how. These are followers that came from my Georgia Bulldog Nation, my Black Greek Letter Comedy, and Vet Med. And the one thing that sticks them all together are animals. In every platform of all those platforms, everybody got animals. So people stayed watching me. They're like, oh, well, even though he's not doing Georgia stuff anymore, he's talking about animals. I got a dog. Even though he's not doing Black Greek Letter Comedy anymore, I got a dog. I need to listen to this stuff. So, animals make the world go around and they actually mend us together. So for all of veterinary professionals who feel like you're unimportant, trust me, you are taking care of some of the most amazing creatures in the world that actually are keeping us together as people.
I love that so much. And I love like the excitement that you were talking about that like kids and families bring to, like the Blend Vet event and other things like that. I think, like you said, with where we are in our industry, like just kind of bringing
Mhm.
that excitement, bringing that love in is so
It's
important.
important.
And maybe it's what we'll heal. Hopefully, it's what
Maybe,
will heal us, bring
maybe
everyone together.
we
Um,
could just hope at this point. But
yeah,
for the folks who are like feeling hopeless, just keep pushing on, man. Just keep
yeah.
pushing on.
Well, I'd love to know about something that you're excited about in that.
Oh my goodness. Oh, things that I'm excited. I'm always excited about everything, Emily. Um, The most what am I excited about the most right now? I mean, I get so excited about everything. I think my biggest passion that I'm excited about is, anything what people really don't know, right? People like, "Walter, you're so" people really think I'm a, extrovert, but I've learned that I'm an ambivert. I love being around people, but when I'm not around people, I love to just be to myself kinda deal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't hang out with a whole lot of friends. I love my creatures. I love all of my creatures. Currently, I have I'm looking at this wall. I won't show my camera over here. I'm looking like this is my tarantula wall. I got like
Yeah.
35 tarantulas over
Um,
here. And I just like I will sit up in this room all day. They ain't even moving. And I
yeah.
would just sit here and just watch, go from cage to cage, cleaning out, my axolotls. Currently I have baby axolotls downstairs. So just watching them grow, right? Brewing brine shrimp in the morning, dropping a little brine shrimp in there and watching them. I'm just so excited about creation. I love my creatures. Like if I could spend all day just watching my creatures, my tortoises, I got to go out there and build a little thing later on when I get back. My tortoises are outside romping around, loving seeing them romping around, eating up all my grass is great. The cat in his new litter box. I love my creatures. So I'm excited about all my animals. And I'm excited if I can get another one any day. But the wife told me that I can't get any more creatures right now because our pet sitting bill gets pretty expensive with them having to feed all these things. But yeah, I'm excited about my animals. But as far as outside of the house deal, I'm excited to always get to these different conferences and see my veterinary technician family. I'm always excited to see my vet people, WVC, VMX, all different conferences. So I'm pretty much excited outside of the house just to get back in the conference world. Usually I'm Q1 and Q4. I'm light on conferences or whatnot. So I'm in conference season now. So I'm excited to get out there, do some lecturing and see my peeps for sure. That's my biggest excitement.
Nice. Well, maybe we can say hi to each other at VMX again.
Oh, will you be at
And
BMX?
you'll know
Perfect.
I'm always at VMX, but maybe this time you'll actually know who I am and
We will do
it'll
this.
be a
And
little less
actually,
awkward.
what we'll proceed with, for the folks that are listening out there in VMX, I'm actually gonna do this crazy thing. I'm trying to do this thing called podcast in the hallway.
Oh,
And basically I'm just sitting up in the hallway on the floor with my microphones, headphones, podcast, and anybody that comes by that just want to say what up. We're gonna be live. We're gonna be on Twitch. We're gonna be streaming live all day. We're gonna stream live for VMX. We're gonna try to do like these new YouTubers and streamers where we do a 24-hour stream type deal. So not sure to work out, but we'll definitely be doing an interview in the hallway. So Emily, stop by the
that's
hallway,
exciting.
grab
Yes,
the
I will
headphones
definitely try to
so we
find
can
you.
catch up at VMX. So it'll be awesome for sure.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Um, well, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I've
Of
learned so
course.
much from you, and just being around you is very invigorating and exciting. So
Man,
I
I
really
love it.
appreciate everything that you're doing for the profession and for all of us.
Man, I love it. And if anybody needs information or wants to contact me, you can always contact me on my socials, Skin and Go Live everywhere. Skin and Go Live at Skin and Go, actually it's Skin and Go Live at Gmail. So if you need to email me at Skin and Go Live, SKINNIGOLIV at Gmail. And that's also the name on all social media handles, whether you are on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. That's where I am. So you can always find me. And again, I just love motivating my families of veterinary professionals. I think we have one of the most coolest and essential professions in the world. And if we could just learn to play together a little bit better and learn to work together and have conversation together, I think we will actually drive our profession to where it actually needs to be as far as the notability and the actual financial aspect of it, because I know we all are struggling a little bit on the financial aspect of things in veterinary medicine as with the inflations and whatnot. But again, I think as we work together and build together as a community, I think we will actually get where we need to be. So let's keep pushing, VetMed, for sure.
Love that. Thank you so much for that message.
Always.
Thanks so much.